It's been over 100 years since the First World War ended. It's hard to imagine the great sacrifice so many made at that time. As a filmmaker, to honor them, I'm always in search of stories of forgotten soldiers.
As a military historian, I'm constantly trying to uncover untold war stories, to connect the past with the present. One of the best ways is to find an artifact left over from the war.
Dave and I are always searching for lost artifacts, whether on a battlefield or in a museum, especially ones with identifying marks like a name or number etched on them.
Then by accessing military records and Ancestry's massive archive, we can connect the lost artifact with a particular soldier, as well as the family of that soldier.
One story took Dave and I to northeast France, to one of the most well-known battlefields in the world, the Somme.
It was a battle that raged over 5 months between July and November 1916, with a staggering casualty count on both sides of over 1 million soldiers, including nearly 300 men from the Newfoundland Regiment killed here on the first day of the Somme. This land is appropriately called Newfoundland Memorial Park.
Dave and I hope to find an artifact of a soldier who's connected with the Battle of the Somme.
We had a good lead at a place with a rather strange name.
So we're going to a place called Ocean Villas in the middle of the Somme.
Yeah, well, actually, the town's real name is Auchan-Villers. But of course, the troops during World War I couldn't pronounce it properly, so they nicknamed it Ocean Villas. So, what an amazing place you have here.
Oh, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, we are literally just a stone's throw from the front lines, aren't we?
Yeah, we're what we call a frontline village.
So
yes.
During the war, or during the Battle of the Somme, what was this house used for?
In 1914, when the French pushed the Germans back, they occupied Ocean Villas and made it an underground fortress for the French.
Then Avril told us she had a museum on the property. We just assumed it would be a small room in the house. Boy, were we wrong. Well, I wasn't expecting this. This is huge. Look at the collection you have.
There is so much in Avril's museum, so many rare and unique artifacts. But she took us directly to one special item.
And this is quite intriguing.
Really?
Yeah, because it's got all sorts of markings on it.
She hands me a small leather case, and immediately I can see a name. It says L. Stokes, and we've got a service number. And then at the top, it looks like it has 116 BN, so the 116th Battalion. So you haven't done any research on this at all?
No, nothing.
Once we opened the little case, we believed we knew what it was.
I mean,
That's quite something.
It could be a compass case, because look, it has actually like a felt inside. Just above the name here, I see out, O-U-T.
Oh yeah, you're right, eh?
Yeah.
O-U-T. S-C-O-U-T, Scout.
What's this then?
That's a BN. He was the battalion scout.
That's a fourth piece of evidence.
I mean, this really makes this something special.
It was a great find. The compass case gave us all the necessary information we needed to find out who L. Stokes was.
The first key document we found came from the National Archives in Ottawa.
Look what I have.
You got his personnel file. This was the personnel file of a soldier who served with the 116th Battalion, whose service number was 775572. Exactly what was etched on the compass case.
L. Stokes was Lester Stokes from Kitchener, Ontario, a city that was known as Berlin, at least until the war started.
With the help of Ancestry's collection of family history records, we found out more about Lester Stokes. From a 1901 census form, we discovered he was born on November 9, 1899, the son of Henry and Nellie Stokes, and the youngest of 3 children. We then discovered Lester's attestation papers. He joined early in 1916. We also noticed that Lester gave his birth year as 1897 and not 1899, as was listed on the census form.
Like many young men at the time, eager to do their part, Lester lied about his age so he could go off to war.
The last crucial piece of evidence we found on Ancestry was Lester's marriage license from 1921 when he married Myrtle Orr.
We then knew that he had survived the war, but also there was another clue. The couple's marriage was registered in Chatham, Ontario.
And wouldn't you know it, his son Jim was still living in the same city. We had to bring him and his wife Ruth over to the Somme.
We arranged to first meet Jim and Ruth, both retired Army officers themselves, in a World War I Commonwealth cemetery, not far from Averil's home.
We didn't tell them anything about Lester's compass case.
So how much do you know about your father's experiences?
We know a great deal because Papa did live to be 100. The dad joined the 116th Battalion.
It was remarkable when Jim started to talk about his father's role in the 116th Battalion. Lester was a scout, and of course he knew right away how important the compass would be to the scout.
They went out into no man's land to find out what's out there and how can we get to the Germans.
Every time that he went out was a chance for him that something could happen to him.
So in other words, he was right there on the sharp end, and he was the one responsible for navigation and getting him to the right spot and getting them back.
Right, and that's why he had that compass that we've got with us that he brought back.
So you brought the compass with you then?
Yes, yes.
Jim brought the compass with him. This was something David and I didn't expect.
It would be fair to say then that this was perhaps his most cherished memento?
Cherished is a good word, but he always said it was the most necessary thing he had in the battlefield.
Jim bringing the compass over completely changes the story. Immediately, we had to take him and Ruth to Ocean Villas and introduce them to Averil. I would like you to meet Ruth and Jim.
We've never had this situation before. Jim didn't know that Averil had his father's compass case, and Averil didn't know that Jim had the actual compass with him. How it was going to play out, we didn't know.
Right. I believe he was a scout.
Yes.
And this is the compass case.
Right.
With his name on it.
There's something missing, isn't it?
Oh, the compass.
You're kidding. The compass is missing.
You haven't got the compass.
77, 55, 72. And my father carried it all his
life.
Right through to the end.
The first thing Jim does is compare the markings on both items.
Yes, see the Stokes, the S?
Yeah.
And probably done with a bayonet. Oh, the lettering is the same.
Yeah, look at that.
Then Jim makes a surprising decision.
And I really feel it should go with you and in this case. So may we present this to you?
I don't know what to say. I mean, thank yous just isn't enough. I just think this is lovely. It's incredible.
Why don't we see if it still fits?
It goes in perfectly.
And perfectly. Back home.
And now, after a century, the Lester Stokes story comes full circle.
I couldn't believe that the compass case survived. It's absolutely fantastic to be able to put something back where it belongs.
It's been over 100 years since men and women like Lester Stokes served in the First World War.
Many of their stories, like this one, still remain untold.
To honor our ancestors, we must discover their stories.
And celebrate their grit, tenacity, and above all, their humanity.